I got that CMOS, baby, call me a CMOS, baby. Do that body good like CMOS, baby. I'm a leader, I'ma take you to the treetop, baby. I care about your health, did you hydrate lately? I got that CMOS, baby, call me a CMOS, baby. Do that body good like CMOS, baby. I'm a leader, I'ma take you to the treetop, baby. I care about your health, did you hydrate lately? Let's just welcome to the Verbal Apothecary, where we bringing you herbals and the verbals. My name is Ajman. Also go by the name Aj God if you heard my music. And I'm with a real herbal magi right now. My brother Opesanwo. Go ahead and say what's up to the people, man.
How you doing? How you doing? This is Babo Opesanwo Ifakore Babalao ala Bigba, 10th generation herbalist. Definitely like to, thank Aj God for bringing me out this way today. Always like to get involved with not just, people coming to me for physical business, Afro Urban Apothecary, but also to, get the word out about herbs and things that people can use every day, high blood pressure, cholesterol, anything, the basic ailments in our community, and also the things that, that plague us all, like cancer and all kind of skin issues and mental, emotional, spiritual issues as well. So that's really where, we come into play.
That's right, man. So I wanted to have you on this podcast because you are, to me, an essential part of our future as Black people. And when I say you, I mean what you represent. Going back to nature, learning from nature, using nature to heal ourselves. We are living in the Western world where the Western way of medicine has its effectiveness, but it also has some major side effects that we see. I know we've all seen the commercials where, hey, this is the pill for, the side effects is longer than what it's supposed to cure. It'll be your last headache. So we understand that these things are comical for a reason, because it kind of doesn't make sense. It creates cognitive dissonance where it's like, this thing's supposed to heal me. Why is this having so many side effects? Now, in reality, some good things come with some cons, right? It's all about balance, but if you don't understand why is that way, you may be suckered into believing that's how it's supposed to be. And when you understand medicine on a alchemical perspective, when you're dealing with the chemistry, the chemicals that are taken out of these plants and put into these pills are taken and isolated outside of their normal ecology, if you will, of other complementary compounds, right? So we all have heard of THC. But if you take THC out, it now doesn't have the CBD and the THCA, and it's not healing anymore. But there's something about the isolation that also amplifies the either effectiveness and or toxicity. And that toxicity is seen very common. It seems common, in the Western world. And so I wanted to bring you on because you offer a perspective of holistic approach, and honestly, just personally, you've been a light for me. You know what I'm saying? Verbal Apothecary is a culmination of my journey into health and wellness after seeing my elders go through cancer and my peers go through cancer, and to see and hear all of the changes to our food supply happening right in front of us, right under our noses. And you have been a light to me because at a time when I was most curious about it and knew the least, you came in and was like, oh, you should try this. You could try this. What about this? What about that? And breaking down the reasons as to why. And I found that to be such a profound experience because you are a Black man. I didn't learn this. I didn't learn about Chinese medicine from a Chinese man. I learned it from a Black man. And yes, you didn't give me all the game, but you gave me enough game to get me going, a foundation. And I appreciate you for that. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about who you are, what you do, and why you do it, so other people who may be on that same wavelength of, I want to get into health and wellness, they might be inspired because of what they see, and or if they just need some help, they might hit you up. I want folks to hit you up after they hear what you got to offer, man. So that's why I brought you on, man, to talk about those things. So my first question to you is, what is health and wellness?
So I always look like it like this. When you think of balance, because mostly when people think of, oh, I'm gonna be healthy now, I'm gonna be vegetarian now, so I'm gonna take all this fake meat and fake things to balance out my life. But in reality, the things what they're really looking for is looking for things that to bring health, to bring balance into their system. But they're seeking that within fake meats that's probably more processed and horrible for your body than anything else, right? So when you're talking about something that is balanced, you're also talking about emotional, physical, and spiritual. So if I go to your point earlier, if I go and get a supplement, this is because this is big business. That's $1 billion business, right? If I go get a supplement, and that supplement is I take iodine out of like seaweed, for example, right? I take iodine, just a compound of iodine out. I only can use it for a short amount of time, right? Whereas if I eat it in seaweed itself, it gives me all the iodine that I need, but has all the phytochemicals and phytonutrients and all the other things that balance it out so that my body can accept it and use it, and what it doesn't need, it can flush out. And so that's the same kind of thing when you talk about health and wellness, is that really an herb is supposed to produce a function, like anything in and around it. So when I say herb, I don't just mean a plant that grows out the ground. That could be something that you smell. That could be the pheromones of an animal. That could be crickets. That could be silkworms. That could be mealworms. That could be barks of a tree, saps. I mean, there's so many things that are considered herbs, right? From the perspective of what I'm dealing with. Because when you deal with health and wellness, health means that basically you're not in dis-ease. You are in ease, you're in balance, you're successful in your life because you're able to be not 100%, because nobody's 100%, but you're able to be functioning in a way that's you're not out of balance. Your body is not thrown off course by either an ailment in your knee or maybe your nervous system or whatever. So when you talk about health in and of itself is looking at the concept of wanting to be able to use the foods that we eat, the emotions that we receive and give, at the same time that we push on others, because we're like a big battery system. So if we're always pushing and receiving at the same time, that's why people say, they're bipolar, right? Because it's two poles, right? So you're stuck between these two poles. So you're looking for balance in between these states of fight or flight. So what is that? That's your adrenal glands. That's the pineal gland. That's the pituitary gland. These are things that affect all other parts of your body. So when you talk about herbs or you talk about foods, then those foods should be the things that actually give you life, not a supplement. It's not a supplement to your life. It's a part of your life, right? So, for example, you go out and you walk and you're taking a hike or whatever, right, up in the hills. You go there, so now you're not just impacted by the physical exercise that you're doing and you're walking, that's good. But now the eucalyptus smell, right, you get it from there, right? It's cooling and calming your head and focusing and antiseptic and all the other stuff that it does. And then you're surrounded by these the trees that's taking in the carbon monoxide because you may be coming in from the sea and you're going into the countryside or up in the hills where there's plants and trees at. So you're constantly being renewed. And so, your feet are touching the ground. If you take your socks and shoes off, your feet are touching the ground, so you're being renewed again. So it's not just strictly something that you put in your mouth or things that you put on your skin. It's things that you hear, like you say, verbal apothecary, right? So those things that you listen to or that you allow people to talk to you or you allow to be in your cipher or surroundings, those things always are also part of your health and wellness. Because, I eat every day, I run 20 times a day, but I smoke 10 packs a day. Okay, well that's kind of out of balance, right? Or I'm doing this and I'm doing that, I'm healthy, I'm running, I'm able-bodied, blah, 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 and I'm eating all the fake foods I can. Right? Fake chicken, I'm eating fake ribs. Okay, so now your body's really jacked because it's confused. I can't use any of this food. So now that I'm in the midst of this, what do? I'm going to go to the health food store. I'm going to go get these other peers that, it has astragalus. But astragalus by itself is not
Bioavailable?
No, because you don't know what it is. Not necessarily that it's not available to you, but just that when they grind it up to powder, you see whatever company that says, "Oh, this is astragalus." So have you prepared the astragalus? Is it raw astragalus? Is it what?
Now that's a good point because I have read that how you prepare the medicine matters. I think I learned that from you. So if you boil something, that has a different effect than if you take it raw. Or I just wanted to highlight that because yeah, you're going out here buying these capsules made of powder with a question mark, proprietary blends. What does that mean?
And there's a bunch of fillers in the midst of that. And that's the other part of it. It's like, well, okay, I think I'm getting this Foti, right, in this thing. But it may have all these other fillers. It may have sulfur. It may have all this other stuff. The pill, the tablet or the capsule itself may be soy or maybe gelatin. If you don't eat pork, then, I mean, I don't eat pork, so it's like, I don't want that in my body. Oh, it's bovine. Okay, so bovine is coming from a cow. Do I want that in my body? If I'm vegetarian, why would I want that in my body? You know, so that in itself. So even when people talk about being vegetarian, it's like politics. Do you see what I'm saying? Because now there was a company back in the day. This blew my mind. Now, mind you, you know the food coloring, like yellow 5, yellow 6, all that's pork, right? So they put that inside of these fake sausages, these vegan sausages. Oh, yellow 5, yellow 6. Like, wait a minute. This is vegetarian. Now, inside of the casings, and that's the thing about if it's a sausage, inside the casing may be lamb or may be pork. The inside of it may be vegetarian or whatever, right? Soy. But those things would affect your body even more. If you haven't eaten pork in so long, like I'll know when I take a supplement and somebody's like, oh yeah, no, I'm good with that. Because my body hasn't dealt with that for like over 30 years, right? And so you start looking at those things, you're like, yeah, no. That's not real medicine at that point. Now you're just filling it in, right? So fillers, you have to be careful of the fillers. You have to be careful of all those things. So when we talk about, I was vegan for 20 years at one point. So my thing is that it's not just about being a thing, because I was vegan for health reasons, just because I want to be healthy, because I want to be balanced. You know, because like we were saying about music, right? Listen to KRS-One, Beef, what a relief, right? That put my head in a different mind state. Oh, yeah, you know what? That is true. That beef is whoop, and what kind of stuff is in there? What chemicals am I getting from there? This stuff is crazy for my body, and I don't feel good when I do X, Y, and Z. Why am I taking this in my system? And so I like what you was talking about. What is health and wellness? Because that in itself is the most important question. What is it? So usually my first classes, I start out with like, what are herbs and what is herbalism, right? Because somebody could say, oh, I know herbs. So they go to their little book that they got at the 5 and dime store or wherever, right? Or online. You know, this is evening primrose. So show me evening primrose as it grows. Do you know what it looks like when it grows, or you only know the artist's conception or the picture of it? You don't know the herb if you don't know where it grows. You know the herb if you don't know what the seed and how it's the seedling and how it grows up to where it's supposed to be. You don't know it.
Or when it's the most potent. You know, because
what part of the plant?
What part of the plant to even use? Because you might use one part and it actually be counterproductive
to what you're trying to accomplish. And that's why I say all herbs, all plants, all things that we encounter is medicine. Everything. So, like I said, the words that we speak, the actions that we take. So we look at it from the Yoruba perspective. Okbon idajo iwakbale. Wisdom, justice, and good character. Right? You can't have any one of those without the other. You can't have good character without wisdom. You can't have justice without wisdom. You can't have justice or good character alone, right? Because your good character may be different from my good character, based off of where you live, based on what your experiences was, based off your parents, based off your environment that you're living in. It's going to be a little different. But the basic is common respect, right? Iwakbale. So just because I can get over doesn't mean I should get over. You know what I mean? And so that's like that same kind of concept with herbs or interactions or how you deal and how you develop and grow yourself. And the same concept is what is power? Power is not strictly just overlording and making people fear you, because fear isn't real. It hasn't happened, and there's no point of it happening. I mean, there's nothing saying that it will happen, right? But when somebody says, I'm powerful, a powerful person is somebody that aids and grows and develops themselves and others at the same time. Because if you're not doing that, that means you yourself are, it's because anybody can say, I'm powerful because I can beat this cat in the head and he's knocked out. Okay, cool. But there's always somebody stronger than you. There's always going to be somebody smarter than you. There's always going to be somebody more than what you have, right? Just by the sheer thing that somebody's older than you and they have more experience.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say when somebody is powerful or seeking to be in balance, because that's power. Being in balance is powerful. Having the right things in the mouth to say correctly, because you could kill or heal somebody with the words of your mouth.
So words of the mouth, we're dealing with vibration, we're dealing with psychology, but the word is so important. How has hip hop helped you on your journey of health and wellness?
I mean, I like to say it in a way that black people are hip hop from the inception, because they say, oh, it's 50 years of hip hop, but check this out. There were like, what about Eddie Jefferson, who was rocking a mic and taking Miles Davis solos? He just left the stage, right? You heard that, right? Or Moody's Blues, right? Or Moody's Mood. And so you look at those kind of things where he took a Miles Davis song, So What? And he just did the solo. He memorized the solo, but he put lyrics to the solo. That was no lyrics there before. So he took the beat and he freestyled off of the lyric, the beat. And he memorized the word, the lyric, the solo. Miles did with the trumpet, and made it into words. So the solo that he was doing, that in the same cadence and tone, with the words that he used. That's hip hop.
What was the brother's name again?
Eddie Jefferson.
Eddie Jefferson.
Eddie Jefferson, King Pleasure. I mean, you got so many different people that did that same kind of thing. This is back in the 40s and 50s, and you can go back to the 20s and XYZ with even with old school DJs, right? Not just in the 60s and 70s. When they was doing, that's why, reggae and everything else took off in the way that it did, because they heard the music coming from New York and everywhere else. With old school DJs would go back and forth. And they go, they would have all these, slick thing to say on the mic, right? And then they would go on and on and on. And then but they created the sound system out there. And they brought that sound system when it came up. And so all these things, black culture is hip hop. So it's not just one small, okay, I got a record contract and now I'm a hip hop artist. Or I'm on the radio, now I'm a hip hop artist. No, because an elder, like giving you a game or helping you.
They always got bars for you.
Always.
They always taking some philosophical perspective and
saying?
trying to give it to you in a way that you can receive. And
Exactly.
sometimes that might include a rhyme, might include a story, it might include, a whole lot of things. And those are our griots.
Yep. And so that's what I say with E5. So like I said, I go back to that point of, I'm a Babalao ala Bigba, or Babalao, or Baba Niawo. So that's the father of the secrets, the father in the secrets within the system of Ifa, or the Yoruba system. Not just, so I preface this by saying, not just in Yoruba land or Nigeria, right? Because Yoruba land goes far beyond Nigeria. So on the continent, we're not even talking about off the continent, because you got Babalaos in Japan right now, right? Literally, you got Babalaos that practice Ifa in Japan. So the Yoruba system as a whole, that could be the Ewe people in Togo. That could be the Fon and the Dahomey, right? Where people say voodoo doesn't have Ifa. It does. It's called Afa, right? And then the Edo call it Ihawega, right? And so, and the Igbo call it Dibia Afa. And the Fon call it Fa. So all these things, all encompassed, begin within the culture that we are coming from. So you can look at any of these systems. I don't care if you go all the way from Cameroon, almost into the Congo, all the way up to Mali, you find Ifa. And so Ifa doesn't just encompass divination. That's what I do, right? You see, it's divinations, it's psychology, it's herbology, it's all the sciences you can think of, because it's based off of a binary system, a numerical system. It's mathematics. That's why I say, it's not hocus pocus halimatosis. This is a science. So when we use the words, when somebody crushes the herb up and burns it up into to charcoal, marks the Odu or the signature on inside of it, and then says the incantation over it. Right? There's a reason why there's a certain cadence in the voice. It's tonal. So if somebody says, "Oh, how you doing?" "Oh, what's up, brother? How you doing?" It's like, "How you doing?" Completely different conversation, right? So we got a whole different kind of message. So that's where words are just as much medicine, just as much as the things that we hear on a regular basis, or we allow ourselves to hear on a regular basis, right? Or we allow ourselves to think. All those things are still medicine in the same road. I come from the perspective of dealing with herbology and things like that, just because in the States, I'm a 10th generation herbalist through my family. And so because, they're from Louisiana, they're from Texas, they're from that area and around in there, right? So when you deal with herbs aren't just strictly something that just pop out, like I said, not just a leaf that comes out the ground. That's one form of a herb, right? Like I said, there's saps, there's things that you burn, there's things that, you may place on your head, or maybe poultices, or, so many other different things. So even when I approach something, like you said, these certain illnesses, because there's a lot of cancers, there's a lot of high blood pressure, a lot of things in our communities that affect us on a regular basis. So first thing I want to know is, where do you live? What kind of foods are you eating? What times of day are you eating these things? You could be eating so-called perfect. Because the first thing I get is, I drink water all the time. How many cups a day do you drink? I drink 1 cup a day. Yeah, that's not enough. That's not enough, because hydration is key, right? So hydration plays a vital role in your whole body. So this isn't just one organ that you have in your body. If you took your kidneys out, then everything would still kind of adjust, but you need that kidney, right? If you take like a big popular thing now, I don't know why this is happening. People are taking their gallbladders out, right? They're going to the hospital, and like this one person, he went in for one thing and they took his gallbladder out. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. They did what? Because think about it. Now, if somebody's going in and they're taking things out they're not supposed to take out, that's money. Hey, that's cash money on hand.
Wait, when you say that's cash money, in terms of the amount of
that they can get for an organ.
I was going. You mean black market, or do you mean insurance? The person's gonna have to pay
both sides of the road,
and that's crazy too when you think about it. Because man, see, you leading me into what my next question is, right? Because health and wellness, as you mentioned, is multifaceted and it's holistic. You mentioned different ways we could be healthy. I personally feel like, especially as a black man, as a black person, there is multiple fronts that are against my health and wellness, right? So
yep. From the jump.
From the jump, before we
when you come out, before you even leave,
we in there, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So how do you, with these things in mind, how do you suggest and this is a two-pronged question, because I don't want to lead you into a pessimistic view, right? I feel like I'm starting it off pessimistic, but I do want you to mix in your optimism if it's there. What is your vision of health and wellness for your people? And then two, given the challenges of reaching health and wellness for the average black person, how do you suggest we get there?
So, I think that's a good question in a lot of ways, because when you think about it, if somebody has something good for you, but you've been told that everything that's coming from somebody that looks like you is horrible, even if it's good for you, right? Because I remember working at a health food store, and somebody coming up to me and asking me about herbs. They don't know me from Adam. They don't know what I have, what I know, whatever, right? Not that I have everything, because there's so many more that know more than I do, right? But so came up, and I was taking them through different herbs, different things that they could use, and X, Y, and Z. And then they said, well, what gives you the right to know herbs? Okay, well, because I studied, this is in my family lineage, this is, whatever, but that's not the point. The point is I'm sharing something with you. I haven't asked anything from you. And this is what I'm seeking to commune with you, or give to you in a way that you gain and I gain, because I'm helping someone, right? And he was like, well, then he walked over to a Caucasian woman that says, oh, oh, well, do you know what such and such is? I know you know what you're talking about. She's like, she looked at me, and she looked at him. She's like, oh, he's very knowledgeable. He just told you what to do. Why are you asking me? And he was like, right? Because, again, trust.
Shout out to her, by the way.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Because she did not do that. Right? But those kinds of things happen all the time. Right? And so trusting a person. And that's a hard road to travel, right? Because we've already been implementing saying, do not trust anything that looks like you. Right? I was watching this interview somebody had did at one time, and he was saying this really interesting thing where he tried to give somebody some help, and that person didn't want the help because he felt that he was trying to get over. And so I thought about that and said, at what point do we really take in help from another person? Because what that means is that, do I want to be vulnerable? So now that no pessimism at all. Because 9 times out of 10, there's always somebody trying to get over one way or the other, right? So you're always thinking that thing where, as black people in this country, I don't care what people say, we have mental illness, right? But what does that mean when we say mental illness? Just like we say dis-ease, we're out of ease, we're not balanced. And so that doesn't mean that we don't accomplish things, because we wouldn't be here. We are the product of people who went through all heinous kind of issues and environments, right? And still came up. Now that shows the resilience. And so because of that, when we start looking at these things, so yes, I practice an African traditional system, but that doesn't mean you have to practice that. That means, because we have to get out that mind state too, that it's always like I have to push what I know on you. No. So if I'm able to build with you, I don't care what you do. You say Allah Akbar, you can say Hallelujah, you can say, Mo Dupu Fa, right? It doesn't matter. If I'm able to help you, and I receive blessings just by helping you, not because I'm not doing it because I want something from you. Obviously, if you come to me in my business, it's a business, right? So it's a give and receive. It's a business. But outside of that, just because it is a business doesn't mean I have to get over. Again, go back to the same point we were talking about earlier. Just because I can get over doesn't mean I should get over. So to long way around the question to get back to it, but I'm saying it's all in the same alignment, is when we engage with each other, because you don't have to take on the weight of everybody. You don't. So I'm trying to help somebody, so I got to go in. Like the Yoruba say, don't give your hand to the point to where somebody cuts it off. Right? So you give your hand, you help, but don't give the hand to the point to where you cut your own hand off, because you can't help anybody else. Right? You help. But see, you can help somebody, or you can enable somebody. That's two different things. Because helping means you aid that person to figure it out and to do it on their own in a way that they're productive. So yes, if I see you struggle, like for example, when I was in Burkina Faso, I used to live in Burkina Faso for a while.
And where's Burkina Faso, for those that don't know?
Right up above Ghana. It used to be called Upper Volta. And so I remember this when I was there. I mean, I'm from here, born in Oakland, raised in the Bay Area, whatever, right? So when I went out there, how we say before you help somebody, you ask, can I help you, right? And so I kept doing that to elders. It was like, well, she had look, oh, do you need some help? Of course she says, oh no, don't worry about it. Da, 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 da. And so the person that was with me, she was like, look, stop asking. You see this elder has this heavy thing on her back, or his back. Help him. Help her. Clearly they need help. Why would you wait until they crumble down on the ground before you decide to help them, right? And so I say all of that to say, we've been put in a position where we think that we have to be this crab in a barrel. Every time you come up, you pushing me down. No. Because when I come up, if I'm using that, Okbon, Idajo, Iwakbale, wisdom, justice, and good character, then I'm automatically want to go back and try to help somebody else. Not just up, because where's up? Where we going to? Just because you get up and you get cash doesn't mean you made it. So if you get cash and you run for the hills, or you run somewhere else, I'm not saying that you can't do that. I'm just saying, why?
What is success?
What is success? What is power? What is success? What is good character? So we start really looking at these things in a way that is being flashy. That's all good. Street light. There. But you know what I mean? So it's still recording.
Yeah, let me just do a quick little sound sync. This is Verbal Apothecary episode with Opesanwo. Why your phone went? Sorry.
Oh, you did. Start rolling too.
Hey, we in divine timing.
Hey,
We back. Go ahead, brother. Continue.
So your question was really on time because I think that the pattern is to say, oh, well, look how horrible, terrible these things we are. We got this big mountain to climb and blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's great and that's fine. That's nice. Right? So you can have 50 million organizations and 50 million conferences talking about what we need to do. And oh my God, these poor, unfortunate, people. Right? But what is that exactly doing? And so, and I don't knock, believe me, I don't knock any organization that seeks to help and develop. Right? Never. But I just remember back in the days when we would go to these, I hate to say it like this, but Afrocentric spots. Mm-hmm. Right? And somebody said, oh, you read this book? And somebody says, no, I haven't even read this book. Oh, wait, they start downing them and woofing and blah, 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 right? So wait a minute. You asked this person if they read the book. Do you have the book to give them? Mm-hmm. Are you seeking to build with that person, give them some insight of what's going on that maybe they may already have? You assume that they don't even have it, right? You don't know this person from anywhere. You can't assume anything from anybody. So that's my point. It's like, I don't care if the person is sitting on the side of the road, that person has experience. That may be the person that saves your life. You never know. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when I was going to those kind of conferences and those kind of things, it's like, okay, you said the same thing the last 50 times you came and did the same conference and laced your pockets, but I don't really see anything that helps anybody. It makes me feel good. The rhetoric is keeping me kosher. Mm-hmm. I feel great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I'm done. Now what? Yeah. What happens?
That's big. You mentioned being trusting of your brother, of your sister. You've mentioned actually putting in the work. Don't just don't wait to ask. Just go do. And I feel like those are two very important things. And so I also wanted to ask you, just in general, a little bit about why, like what's one major memory that you have that put you on this path of health and wellness?
I would have to say my grandmother.
Shout out to the elders.
Straight up and down, because my mom, my pops, she's the one who told me about the family. Oh, this is a lineage. This is not just you learning herbs and X, Y, Z. These are people that came before you. These are things that happened before you. This is why this works. That's why having an elder in the family, I don't care if they're into herbalism, I don't care if they're into whatever they're into, they have something that they experienced, right? Because the downplay is that elder don't have nothing to do, or the elder is afraid of a child. Wait a minute, that's a child. So how can you not being able to relate to that child and correct that child for some, the days and times, these people are crazy, da-da-da-da. Well, you know that when something has fear isn't real. Mm-hmm. When somebody's fearful of something, then automatically their whole framework is shifted, right? Because it's an illusion. The things that they think that's going to happen to them, the things that they're because they're isolated. Because what have we done in this country? It's individualism is the thing. So back in the days, it wasn't like that because we couldn't do anything else but rely on each other, right? How many more black businesses there were before there was integration?
It was a lot.
A whole lot.
And they didn't want to see that.
A.G. Gaston. Do you know A.G. Gaston is?
I'm familiar that he's a scholar.
A.G. Gaston was one of the first black millionaires.
Oh, excuse me.
Yep. And so he had like insurance companies. He's the one who funded all in hotels and all the kind of stuff like that. He's the one who funded the civil rights movement.
See, Hey, this brother's dropping some knowledge. And it take people from different roles. So like you said, the elder, no matter what they've been through, their role is to give knowledge. And your role may be to go change the world. But you can't go take your mission, your mantle, if you ain't get that key, right? So we talk about Tupac.
Exactly.
You know, as powerful as he is, we can't talk about him without talking about his mom or even his pops.
Yep.
Both, right? His biological
Right.
and his stepdad, right? Because both were Panthers.
Yep.
And you could tell by the way that brother spoke, Tupac was laced with much game. And he had many elders in his life, you know. So I really appreciate you highlighting that, because my grandmother also brought me into health and wellness. I remember her put me on to certain herbs. You know, she was the first one that taught me about like oregano oil, which is a very powerful antiviral, antibacterial. Got me through a couple winters.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
Exactly.
My auntie, you know, she was a follower of Dick Gregory, and she was a nurse. So she's traveled, and she used to put me on, and then my grandma told me about my great grandmother and how she would watch her do things. And she would ask her about it, and she'd be like, "I don't know why I do this."
It just happens.
But
I know
she
it
just
works.
she knew, like, she would pour charcoal onto the garden, the soil, and she would ask her, you know, and chicken bones and stuff, why are you doing that? And she really didn't have an answer for her.
Right.
But she found out later, oh, she's remineralizing the soil. How does she know about remineralizing the soil? She never took a chemistry class or nothing like that. But she come from Louisiana, though.
Yep.
And she there's something about that culture, that those roots that she was able to carry with her to California.
And that's the same kind of thing. Same thing. My grandmother came from Louisiana, and you know, in that whole area, right? And so that in itself, knowing that all those elements that play into it, because same thing. I mean, my parents, when they were at work, my grandmother would be the one who took care of me, right? That in itself doesn't happen like that anymore. Right? Just that connection. But my grandmother taking care of me while my parents were at work. Right? So it wouldn't be like, oh, sit down, let's tell me about this herb. Tell me about what's going on with this herb. How do I use this herb effectively, chemically? No. Go get me this herb. I come back, nope, that's not it. Okay, that ain't it. What herb is it? Oh, you know, the one that da-da-da. Okay, cool. Now I know what this herb is. I will never forget what that herb looks like. And I'm not saying that she beat me. I'm just saying that she was like, look, you have to pay attention to what I'm telling you to do. Not necessarily my actions, definitely, but think about what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Don't just hear me. That's primarily what she was trying to tell me. Because a lot of times it's easy to, like when you talk to a youth, you're in their 30s, right? Right? So say like you talk to somebody that's maybe 10, 12 years old, and you have experiences because you've lived X amount of years beyond him, 18 years beyond him, right? I know you're older than 30, but you say 30. So
I'll be 31 in a couple days.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not too far off the line. So 18 years above this cat. So you have experiences and things that he's gone through that you've been through already. So now you say, it's all, again, how you speak to him, how you convey this, how you give this information to this child that may not have had a father. And he already got resentment to every black male he see because he didn't have his, right? Or you're not even going down the gravy train line. You know, we like to put that in everything too. Not everybody's like that either, right? Because they've had other elders that stepped up. So you talk to this youngster, and this youngster says, you know, oh man, there's got to be more to what I'm seeing around me. There's got to be blah blah blah. But let me take you and do X, Y, and Z. But why do people don't like that now? It's because it's like, well, I don't know if this cat is trying to molest me or something's trying to jump off or what exactly is going on all behind it. So there's a lot of pushback. And then again, not being able to trust themselves because I don't have that. They may be trying to get over. Every time somebody try to do that, they try to get over on me, right? My mom said, or my grandmama said, or son said, don't you trust blah, 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 right? For whatever reason. And then, so you got all these other barriers that you got to connect to. So what do? Maybe you connect to it through music. oh, I know, he got he was on stage, I saw that. Wow, how you do that? Do you push him away? Whatever. Or do you actually like plant that seed deeper and be like, here's a little water. You may not take that. You may take the things that I watered that with and throw it away. I don't know, but you remember it. Maybe not now, maybe 50 years from now.
And I want to co-sign that because these are the experiences that have led me to where I am. And so I think that is something that I love that you are highlighting is you got to tap into the youth and we got to keep our connections to these elders. You know what I'm saying? So I want to make sure that I get you back on this podcast because we could go for hours. And this brother is a wealth of knowledge. So why don't you let the people know, again, your name and where they could find you and your business.
Baba Opesanwo E.S.O.teric I know it's something mouthful. But Afro Urban Apothecary. So Afro, A-F-R-O, Urban, H-E-R-B-N, Apothecary, APOTHECARY.myshopify.com. So AfroUrbanApothecary.myshopify.com. That's the website that I have all my stuff at. I'm also on Facebook, so if you put Afro Urban Apothecary Shop on Instagram, I'm also on, like I said, Facebook, TikTok. You find Baba Opesanwo E.S.O.teric. And then also E.S.teric, like E-Central, the letter E, Central, like Central, Grand Central Station. Obi, E.S.teric Obi, that's trade. So E.S.teric Obi trade, that's on YouTube. And so that one I have a lot of videos. So I go to museums, I do book reviews, I talk about all kinds of things I learned from the years I've been initiated into Ifa and other things. Then I talk about, Yoruba tradition. I talk about, again, different gallery events, different events that I see. If I'm up and around in the hills or in and around anywhere, I'm showing different plants and things that you may or may not know that are there or that are medicinal. Teach classes. So there's a variety of different things, but those are places that you can definitely catch up with me. My number, area code 510-239-8794. Definitely anytime. That's the business number and everything else, so you can always get in contact with me. But those are places definitely that you can get in. Like I said, I teach classes, Ewe, Fa classes. Ewe just means leaf, and Fa is the oracle or the word of Olodumare, Almighty God, in the Yoruba tradition. So I teach Ewe, Fa classes. I teach and do spiritual work for people. I also do divinations with Ifa, Abigba. Also making different other things, artists and everything else. So that you can find those things from that place.
And that's what it is, and that's what it's gonna be. You've tapped in with the Verbal Apothecary. We'll be bringing you the herbals and verbals. Much love and appreciation. Peace. I got that CMOS, baby, call me a CMOS, baby. Do that body good like CMOS, baby. I'm a leader, I'ma take you to the treetop, baby. I care about your health, did you hydrate lately? I got that CMOS, baby, call me a CMOS, baby. Do that body good like CMOS, baby. I'm a leader, I'ma take you to the treetop, baby. I care about your health, did you hydrate lately?